Well, good afternoon, good evening, and even good morning over in Asia. Harry Brailsford here with SMB Nation. It's noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, early evening over in Europe, and a very, very early morning over in Asia, including Sydney, where we have some attendees. So thank you very much for joining us. This is the weekly webinar series. I want to cover off on a little bit of housekeeping as always. So next week we have a ransomware webinar, so we're going to get you some details on that, of course. I will be sending you the webinar thank you notification tomorrow with a link to the recording and any other special offers, incentives, updates, stuff like that. So that's going to come from myself tomorrow. In the industry, we have Carl Palachek has a class starting into the month. I just had some dialogue with him. If you guys know Carl Palachek or Google him, he's got a online course starting, so shout out to Carl. We got WPC coming up in July. And then we're ramping for the next 9 cities. So as you know from last week, we had just finished the first 9 cities for the first part of the year, ending in California with Los Angeles and San Francisco. So we're now ramping and tentatively looking at late July in Fort Lauderdale to kick everything off for the rest of the year. Keep your eyes on the site, SMB Nation, with our current news and our current theme of either starting up or starting over as an MSP. And be sure to use the questions capability on your monitor, the GoToWebinar monitor. Use the questions feature, and I will be asking the questions of our presenter. So let's get to Parker Thompson. Parker's in Dallas today. So Parker's with Trend Micro. Hello, sir. How's the weather out there? I think, isn't Texas getting a lot of rain, or is it pretty nice today? I think you guys got some rain this spring.
It was not so good the last couple of weeks, but today is a wonderful 90 degrees, which is right on par for this time of year.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, Parker, you've got the talking stick. Let's jump right into it.
Good. Good evening, morning, afternoon, depending on where you are in the world right now. But my name is Parker Thompson. I've been with Trend Micro for about 3.5 years. My main focus the whole time has been the small, medium business market with a specialization in cloud security and managed service providers. So today we wanted to discuss the SMB Security Dilemma as we enter this age of cloud sharing with solutions like Office 365. But if, Harry, you are ready to get started, I will absolutely go.
Yeah, sir,
Perfect.
Born ready. Yep, let's go to the next
Perfect.
slide.
So, how has the SMB landscape evolved? We're currently in the midst of an evolution within the SMB market. Information is at the epicenter of this change, and we've created value, agility, and expansion into global markets over the last few years with new business models forming that are leveraging social networking, the cloud, and mobility to help create new ways in which information can be leveraged, stored, accessed for not only the corporations but the end users as well. Unfortunately, through this process, as quickly as the SMB markets are evolving, hackers and people looking to exploit these opportunities are also evolving and finding new ways and innovative ways to get inside the organizations and steal what might be sensitive to that organization or their customer base. And regardless of how they get in, they are absolutely ultimately looking for one thing, and that is the most valuable asset to a company, which currently is today their data. For SMBs, the threat is absolutely real. Small businesses are often less equipped to protect against attacks and often delegate far fewer resources to fighting cybercrime. Nearly half of all small businesses have been a victim of cyber attacks, and 71% of security breaches currently target small businesses. Unfortunately, there is a staggering percentage of businesses that do go out of business after attacks. The National Security or Cybersecurity Alliance announced not too long ago that 60% of these small businesses that suffer a breach go out of business within 6 months after the attack. How is email and file sharing changing? So users are significantly changing their behavior as well. What we used to see being transmitted through email attachments has now progressed into being transmitted through cloud and file sharing. So corporations like Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, and even OneDrive for Business through Microsoft have grown substantially over the last few years. And with respect to these, we see a giant shift in how users are sharing data. Instead of sending these types of this type of information through email, they've started uploading it directly into these file sharing systems and sending links to their recipients to go view within these file sharing platforms. In fact, if you send an email with an attachment from Office 365, you often get prompt to upload it and share with OneDrive. So a lot of the people that are leveraging Microsoft Office 365 for Exchange unknowingly are also leveraging OneDrive on a very regular basis as well. The challenge is...
Parker?
Go ahead.
I'd like to speak to this. Our audience is very keen on Office 365, and I can tell you this is, that product, I'm not going to get the date exactly right. It was either 2011, as late as 2012 when it rebranded from BPOS. But when you had that initial, it almost felt like a default, both save as and attach selection, right? It's at the top, and it's visually, the optics are, it's kind of the default way to go. I know our culture, our community, we struggled with that initially because it was new. It's kind of like, well, no, wait a minute, I'm used to, I want to send the attachment. I'm used to my documents on C drive and whatnot. And fast forward the movie to mid-2016, and I can tell you, not only have I gotten more comfortable with this method, but, you're even seeing, we're working with an MSP in an advisory capacity right now, and the gentleman is using, sort of these third-party email services like banks will use. You know how a bank won't have a confidential conversation with you on email, but they will send you a link to go to a secure, whatever we call those site, basically an email site, where you have to log on and be authenticated, and then you can see the confidential email from the bank. We're seeing more of that. Same concept. It's a link, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to add that because we are seeing a shift.
Absolutely, and the big challenge with it is that traditional mail filtering gateway systems or on-prem systems that are protecting the Exchange server itself aren't able to see these files as they're pushed into the cloud and then shared from the cloud. And this is causing a significant issue within small and medium businesses because they go through situations where they can download things into Office 365, Box, Dropbox, Google Drive that may be confidential or sensitive information, and the owners of the company don't know that the end users are taking these very harmful or potentially harmful acts and putting this sensitive data into the cloud and then sharing it through the cloud as well. So what types of security risks should organizations be concerned with when it comes to email and file sharing? The biggest thing that we're seeing right now is that malware, like ransomware, is only being used once 90% of the time. So we see more unknown variants, substantially more unknown variants than we are seeing of more known variants currently. And roughly 60% of these malware attacks are leveraging Microsoft Office files like Word documents, PowerPoint documents, or Excel documents. Ransomware, to be specific by the numbers, and this pertains to the first quarter of 2016 and some of the data back into 2015. For the first quarter of 2016, ransomware modifications, there were over 2,900 detected. And to break that down into the day-to-day, it's 30 new variants of ransomware being created each day for the first 3 months of 2016. And that's only what we were able to detect and know about. 72% of ransomware victims were unable to access their data for 2 days or more. When we look at that from a small business standpoint, you have to consider what 2 days of no capital or no revenue could do for a small business. A lot of small businesses that run cash lean can be substantially hurt by not having 2 days worth of revenue, and that's not including the cost of their reputation that they incur if it gets out that they were infected by some sort of attack, and also maybe the ransom that they have to pay to possibly receive data back or files back from the cyber criminals. $209 million in ransomware has been paid out in the first 3 months of 2016. And to put that into perspective, companies like, or according to Forbes, companies like Fitbit, Fishnet, and Accuvant roughly do $200 million per quarter. So this industry has put itself up in the revenue streams of companies like Fitbit. The other substantial thing is that in 2015 to 2016, year over year, this $209 million number is a 4x increase year over year. 34% of SMBs fell prey to phishing emails in 2015, and that number is only expected to increase. And 40% of crypto wallet attacks targeted US-based companies. This says ransomware, so 40% of ransomware attacks specifically being crypto wall targeted US-based companies, with that number 40% actually equaling 253,000 crypto wall attacks. So how can I augment my Office 365 DLP? Securing Office 365 with a product that Trend Micro has labeled as Trend Micro Cloud App Security is very easy, and it's going to supply a substantial amount of value to your end users. Through leveraging things like document exploit detection or advanced threat scan engine, we look for malware hidden within the Office files. And if we recall, 60% of these malware-related incidents leveraged Office files. Web Reputation is a third-party, or sorry, not a third-party, a Trend Micro backend system that we leverage, which examines URLs both in the body of the email as well as within the attachments of the email. So we are not just paying attention to the URLs sent within the body of the email, so you're also getting the value of seeing things within the attachment. True file type blocking is another resource that we're going to let, excuse me one second, guys. I'm just getting over a cold, I apologize. True file type blocking looks at headers, or looks at the header information instead of just the file extension. So criminals have the ability to change a executable file into a JPEG to full the built-in Office 365 filtering tools. Trend Micro is going to take a look at that and make sure that the header is indicating correctly what file it's going to be. If that type has changed, we have the ability to take action against it. And then, of course, sandbox capabilities to provide better malware analyzing. The one big difference in our sandboxing capabilities that you'll find is we have a great backend system that leverages behavior and heuristics to detect what specific emails we should put into the sandboxing process. There are a lot of companies out there that will promote their sandboxing features. The downside to them is that in these features, they're basically taking every email that they receive and putting it into their sandbox, which can cause a significant amount of latency between the initial send time of an email and the time it's received. There's a great example of this that we had a few weeks back with one of the customers that we were doing a presentation with. They were leveraging a third-party product that did sandboxing that was not Trend Micro, and right at the time that they wanted to start the presentation, they realized they didn't have something and they needed it emailed to them. Lo and behold, 15 minutes later, it finally gets to them, and they soon realized that it had been caught up in the sandbox for the last 15 minutes. Trend Micro's ability to use heuristics and behaviors to determine what product is put into the sandbox significantly reduces that time, but also the amount of time spent in our sandbox is significantly less. So right now, if we choose to put something in the sandbox, it only takes 5 to 7 minutes for it to go through all the processing for us to determine if it is going to be malicious or not. Cloud app security is completely delivered as a cloud service to protect Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, as well as the integration with Box, Dropbox, and Google Drive. All of these platforms, it is as simple as setting up, or it's set up through an API integration, so it is as simple as putting in your admin credentials, which will then give you access to start implementing these security policies to these platforms. The DLP features built within this product are going to span across Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, Box, Dropbox, and Google Drive, and it'll give you up to currently 240 customizable templates that can help you adhere to HIPAA, PCI regulations, and will notify you across all platforms if users are sharing data that may be determined as sensitive or violates one of the DLP policies that you have put in place. So it's a great solution for small and medium businesses, especially for ones that care about the data, whether it's their customers' data, applying to compliance regulations, or just sensitive data for the internal company that they may deem as proprietary or strategic. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, it is as simple as the API integration makes it out to be. So all you need is the admin credentials. It will support all devices anywhere, so mobile devices, desktops, laptops, anything that you are leveraging for these platforms, Office 365 can supply security for, as well as data loss prevention for. And it is, like I said, a fully automatic setup where you simply enter in your API credentials, and a few seconds later, you've got access to start applying policies to better secure your Office 365 environments. One of the best examples of how Office 365 secures a customer is one where we had a customer that received an email to his home address, which was suspicious in the first place, and this email contained competitive information, like a Gartner report would be sent out. And instead of catching it like his business grade solutions would, or his business email would, the malicious attack that was wrapped in an attachment to this email that was sent to his home address had good information in it, so he uploaded it into his OneDrive and then sent an email out to the rest of his team asking them to review this document through that OneDrive link. A couple of his team members go in, open that OneDrive link, and realize that it's something they may want to share with their customer that they're trying to win an opportunity for. So they go in and share that information with the customer. A few hours later, the customer opens it and now is infected himself. So they have circumvented all of their traditional scanning methods through the gateway and through traditional on-site Exchange protection, and managed to pass a malicious content from the CEO of the company to employees within the company who are now distributing that to consumers of their product. If they were leveraging Office 365, what would have happened, or Cloud App Security for Office 365, what would have happened is they could have passed this up into OneDrive, and then as the employees attempted to pull the file down from OneDrive, they would get a notification that Trend Micro believed it to be a malicious file and would prevent the end user from opening it on whatever device they were attempting to open it from, subsequently resulting in them never being able to gain access to this malicious content and not forward it to their consumers. So why Trend Micro from an Office 365 security standpoint. Obviously, our goal as a channel-based company is to help you service providers and resellers increase the revenue on these deal sizes. So when your customers are coming in looking for Office 365, Cloud App Security, as well as other solutions that Trend Micro supplies, are going to be a great opportunity to increase revenue and create reoccurring revenue streams for you as well. The value proposition to supplying better security to Office 365 is something that we've also had great feedback from our customers who know there's built-in security to Office 365, but at the end of the day, Microsoft is not a security company. And the ability to promote yourself as a reseller who partners with somebody who's been in the business for 27 years is going to be a strong value add to convincing your customer that this is the right direction to go. Protecting your customers from the unknown is going to be essential as well. So we can say it over and over again with Microsoft promoting their ability to block unknown threats, to block all known threats, but the biggest worry here with 90% of malware only being used once is the unknown threat. And to highlight that, Trend Micro has detected over 500,000 threats specifically through our Cloud App Security product in the first 6 months of its availability. The other thing is we are absolutely, like I said earlier, the trusted security advisor. 27 years in the security business, 20 years of a Microsoft Gold partner, and currently we are deeply embedded with 48 of the top 50 global corporations. So Trend Micro is leveraging platforms that have been around for well over a decade, and we have become experts in supplying data into what we call our Smart Protection Network, which is a network that compiles data from all 155 million endpoints that Trend Micro currently provides protection for, evaluating that data and analyzing that data and pushing it to our sister company Trend Labs to create new types of security platforms, security information for our end users to leverage, and then very easily pushing that out to all of the endpoints that are leveraging Trend Micro. So as attacks happen in other portions of the world, we pull data 24 to 72 hours later. We're pushing better security out to our products from the data that we've learned based on those attacks that are happening in one portion of the world. So as attacks spread to other regions, we've already prepared those regions to be secure from it because of that Smart Protection Network and its ability to scale to a global level. With all of our products, as of 5/25 or 5/27, we also have started to include ransomware protection summary widgets. This is the dashboard for Cloud App Security specifically, where we'll be able to see things like threat detection count, top ransomware via email, top ransomware via URLs, top ransomware via files. So this is going in and specifically looking at the ransomware attacks that are trying to infiltrate your environment, and we're providing you feedback on where those attacks are coming from, allowing you to go back to your users and be more efficient in educating them on how to not get infected by these types of attacks. There are flexible licensing options for all of our products as well. So we have our traditional distribution channel where you can go in and purchase annual licenses for 12, 24, 36 months of the products, and then you can do maintenance renewals for them on a yearly basis as well. Or you can license through our MSP model. Our MSP model does come with some perks that I believe are a strong argument for resellers to go that direction with Trend Micro. Right now, our MSP program has been around for roughly 10 plus years. We've got over 800 partners within the program and currently securing 1 million endpoints inside the US and 5 million endpoints globally through the MSP program. Some of the advantages for resellers is if you do become specialized in the products, you do receive 5% cash back on a quarterly basis for your total aggregate number of licenses that you've brought to Trend Micro. You have the ability to license award-winning cloud-based products like Cloud App Security, Deep Security, and worry-free services on a monthly basis. You get direct access to level 2 support, so you no longer have to deal with the tier 1 issues that you may be facing. Instead, you get a phone number, and when you dial that phone number, tier 2 engineers pick up to assist you with malware remediation, integration into third-party products that you may be leveraging, like the RMM and PSA tools that we're integrated with, being Kaseya, LabTech, Continuum, Autotask, or sorry, not Continuum, ConnectWise, and Autotask. There are no upfront costs to join this program. It is a purely pay-as-you-go model, which is going to give you the opportunity to gradually start through this process. There's no forecasted numbers that we're going to expect from you. And then one of the biggest benefits to the program is you get access to leading-edge onboarding processes, content and recorded demos, specific channel representatives that are dedicated to MSP development. And those specific channel representatives know that the products, the platforms, the programs inside and out, so they're able to sit down with you and walk you through these programs and get you very comfortable with them from the very beginning. The thing Trend Micro wants to avoid is leaving you up to your own devices to learn how to use our platforms. Instead, we want to give you as much help as we possibly can right from the very beginning so that we establish a strong relationship with y'all. And the goal is obviously to get you very comfortable with using our products from a day-to-day operations standpoint, and be right there and able to help you with any questions that might come up during the process of being a partner with us.
Okay, hey, I have some questions. Why don't we take, it's the bottom of the hour, folks. If you're just joining us, so this is Trend Micro presenting the SMB Security Dilemma. It's the weekly webinar, and use the questions capability and go to webinar to ask your questions. I've got a few lined up, and so why don't we use midpoint to do that? But by the way, folks, next week, ransomware, same time, same place. So number one, can we get a copy of the slide deck used today? So Parker, is that something you could send to me and I can send out, or a link, maybe a link to OneDrive for it?
Of course, we can get you a copy of the deck.
Okay, great. Do you use D&H distribution as a distributor? That's from Rodney Hall. Do you use D&H distributing?
Rodney, thank you for asking. I was going to get to that in a little bit later, but currently Trend Micro leverages Interwork, Ingram Micro, Tech Data, and Insight as our aggregators for MSP. So if you have a connection with one of those companies, great. They will be happy to help you out with getting implemented and set up into our MSP program. If not, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to make the introduction for you. We've got great contacts at all of our distribution partners that know the programs very well. So any help you need getting set up with a distribution partner, we're absolutely willing to do it.
Okay, Ken Schaefer out of Portland, Oregon. Good afternoon, Ken. Can you please highlight the differences between Trend Micro for Office 365 and Trend Micro Worry-Free Business Security Advanced?
Yeah, absolutely. Ken, so Worry-Free Business Security Advanced is leveraging a product called Hosted Email Security. It does supply a good bit of security for email, but the biggest difference is that Hosted Email Security requires you to redirect the MX records. Trend Micro then filters everything in our data centers, and then if we deem it to be okay, we will send it through to the end user's destination server. Trend Micro Hosted Email Security does supply spam protection, as well as a very generic sandbox feature, but the overall primary goal of the product is not to supply data loss prevention or advanced threat protection for email. It's more so just a general filtering tool to help filter spam and basic attacks. Cloud App Security is going to be far more granular in its capabilities to secure end users, especially the ones that are leveraging cloud platforms like OneDrive, Box, Dropbox, SharePoint, and general Exchange for Microsoft. So the two products are absolutely very complementary to each other. if I have a customer that is worried about a full-scale mail protection, I always suggest purchasing Cloud App Security as well as hosted email security. And I don't know if I'm supposed to release this just quite yet, but we'll consider this kind of a pre-release. Pretty soon, Trend Micro is going to set up an annual bundle with worry-free services that will be called Worry-Free Services Advanced, and it will contain hosted email security as well as cloud app security. That is probably 3 months out at this time, but we do want to recognize that the cloud-based solutions are often better bundled together. So pretty soon you'll be able to purchase an annual license of Worry-Free Services Advanced, and it will contain both hosted email security and cloud app security.
Okay, and then the next question, Rodney Hull again. Do you integrate with Spiceworks?
Rodney, we do not integrate with Spiceworks at this time. We have had people who leverage the Spiceworks tool create scripts for deployment. Worry-Free Services, which is our endpoint product, does have a single MSI download. So they can download that installer package, use the unique identifier, and if they are able to create scripting through Spiceworks, they can run that script and then use that unique identifier to install the agents on the endpoints. But for cloud app security and hosted email security, there's not currently any integration into Spiceworks.
Okay, and that's the current questions. Again, we're just past the bottom of the hour. Let's rock. Let's jump back into it, Parker.
Perfect. So guys, one of the things I want to highlight from our MSP program before I get to this slide that's currently up is how easy it is to create customers. In the matter of time that it took me to answer those questions from Ken and Rodney, I could have created a customer, told it what service plan I wanted, whether that's worry-free services, cloud app security, hosted email security, or maybe all three, and provisioned licenses to that customer and began the process of implementing policies to that customer. So if you are to join our MSP program, benefits like that are going to be accessible to you, where it's no longer a process of waiting 48 to 72 hours to receive licenses. Instead, within a matter of minutes, you have the ability to create customers, provision licenses to customers, and start to deploy licenses to customers as well. To get back on track, Micro's value is its capability to integrate easily into SMB solutions you already sell, like Office 365, as well as many others. We partner with the SMB market leaders. So there's a handful of companies that we have integrated with, like Dell, LabTech, ConnectWise. So we're absolutely invested into automation and making life a lot easier for our partner base. Extend values to our customers simply by the number of years of experience that we've had in this. If you research Trend Micro, you also recognize that we've always been the front runner in innovation when it comes to security products, whether that was with VMware, Dell, Office 365, mobile devices, anything that seems to be on the cutting edge of needing security. Trend Micro tends to be the people that are out there trying to implement it, and Gartner only backs that statement up. If you look at Gartner, we have been in the top right-hand corner for a number of years, and this year we were lucky enough to be voted the leader in our vision as a whole. So you know, that testification to only to being a market leader and having the ability to predict where security is going to be needed next is absolutely something Trend believes in. Gaining the incremental revenue streams. It's all about profit on the reseller side, and we recognize that. So our goal is to come in and give you great product that supplies great security, be able to make your margin on it, but then also save you a substantial amount of money on the admin and support side by reducing the number of tickets that you have to address and reducing the amount of time you have to spend receiving licenses, renewing licenses, or managing your billing for licenses. Access to value add through partner marketing collateral. We've got a great deal of collateral on the back end, whether that's our sales library, marketing content, our partner portal that has education content within it, but there's plenty of documentation for partners to always be able to learn more about our solutions. And even the people that work for Trend are always open to taking a phone call and spending an hour or 2 hours with your company if it's a lunch and learn, or just a general con call where you're going to have a whole bunch of questions. We're there to help y'all out. The biggest thing that Trend Micro wants to be is your wingman during this whole process. Like I had said earlier in the conversation, our goal is to work with you in developing your business model around Trend Micro. And Jonathan, the individual who helped develop this slide, is a little bit of a nerd, so he decided that the wingman logo for Batman was the best way to describe everything.
Hey, wait a minute. He's a good friend of mine, man. Hey.
So just don't tell him I said it. I'll have to tell him to his face.
All right. We'll edit this out of the recording. Jenny, could you make a note at 12:39 Pacific to edit? Thank you.
The next steps in this process are obviously going to be giving y'all accessibility to cloud app security. If you are a Trend Micro partner, you do have accessibility to no-cost licenses that allow you to evaluate and demo our products within your internal environments. If you are not a Trend Micro partner, you can sign up to be a partner very easily through the Trend Micro webpage. There's a specific link for partners. We are looking for MSPs every day, so if you are a managed service provider and want to learn more about Trend Micro's managed service provider offering, definitely feel free to contact us. If you are not a Trend Micro partner, or if you simply want to provide an eval of worry-free services, cloud app security, or hosted email security to one of your customers, you can go to the Trend Micro webpage where you'll find a list of products that you can trial, and all 3 of those solutions are available for a 30-day trial. Jonathan White is absolutely looking to continue discussions and help y'all get in contact with the correct representatives at Trend Micro. His contact is right here, so if you want to jot it down, you absolutely can, or when we send the deck out to you, just leverage that to reach out to us.
Well, and Parker, let me give a couple people and we do have a couple more questions. I'll get to those. Ken, I'll get to your question in a minute, but there's some people on the call that actually know Jonathan White. So Jonathan and I started working together back in the day with the TS2 events at Microsoft. So you had the TS2 events, you had Big Day, TechNet jumped on. We used to rent theaters during the day and have a get-together. It was a lot of fun. And then Jonathan moved on at some point over to Building 121 in Redmond Worldwide and was involved in Action Pack. So again, that's a familiar name to a lot of people on the call. And then life happens. I kind of lost touch with Jonathan briefly, and then now he's at Trend Micro. So still in the community. A lot of you know Jonathan.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to connect the dots.
He is, yeah. Jonathan is an old dog in industry terms, but we are definitely teaching him some new tricks at Trend Micro, and he is using them to his fullest to make us a better company. So very lucky to have him on board, to say the least. But what I was emphasizing earlier is distribution contacts. And Rodney, I believe it was you that was asking about these. Here's some more information on the distribution contacts. Each one of them has their own specific MSP playbook. They've got dedicated contacts to helping you gain access to the MSP program. And once you do have access to the MSP program, these contacts can help you with pricing, billing, anything that a typical distribution partner would assist with. They have the abilities to assist with. These playbooks are great for new MSPs. They are recorded videos of all of our platforms, as well as the value propositions to these platforms. And then the Worry-Free Partner Resource Center is also something that a lot of my partners have leverages for marketing collateral. It's full of data sheets and sales information and marketing information that can be used day in and day out to increase your company's value to your customers. Harry, that is all I've got from a Trend Micro standpoint. I'm ready to answer some questions for sure.
Okay, and sir, I was just answering an email. It turns out I have a good friend in Nigeria who's stuck and needs me to wire some money. So you know what I'll be doing right after this call.
Hopefully getting rich.
Yeah, forgive me for being on screen too, but I just it seems urgent. So we have Ken. Ken is saying, so
and Harry, I want to stop you real quick because that's a great example. So Harry's an educated end user, knows not to look at that kind of stuff, and most educated end users or most end users should be educated enough to witness that is some sort of sketchy email. The benefit of cloud app security and hosted email security is we're looking for things like that, like the generic writing in those types of emails that don't necessarily state a name, or the IPs may be from different regions of the world that you typically don't receive mail from. So small little variants in the body of the message or in the location of the origin of the message are things that Trend Micro is looking to pick up on. And if we get those types of messages, that's the type of stuff that we're putting into the sandbox to filter. So when that comes through and we recognize that the speak in the email and the body of the email and the generic nature of it, or maybe the IP that it's coming from is potentially malicious, that's the stuff that gets put in the sandbox to be filtered. And most of the time, if it gets put in the sandbox, it's going to get blocked. So it's a great example of what we do.
Yeah, and I'll actually add on a if you don't mind, but I have a bad habit of, I don't know if I want to call it digressing. Why don't we just say that I'm adding value? But I'm helping a client in the big data area, the lead scoring area, and one of the things we do, it's a similar concept, but we do what they call informed validation. And the idea is that we're going to pre-ping the email domain. We're going to scrutinize email domains that are .ru. This is for an educational institution, and so it's not likely someone from Russia is going to attend this particular online MBA and that kind of thing. So we're going to do validation, and I think a lot of us do that inherently. I mean, that's what you were getting towards is, you kind of look at the domain, you kind of look at the link. We are inherently doing some of that. In the big data world, we call it informed validation. And so for example, with a phone number, we'll ping a service called Twilio, right, to see if it's a mobile phone, a desk phone, a real phone, that kind of thing. But it's all part of the Parker, it's all part of the conversation. It's a multi-vector conversation, right? So, any event, back to Ken Schaefer. So I'm hearing that cloud app security is really focused on protecting email only. Is that correct? If so, then another solution would be necessary for endpoint correction and endpoint protection. Correct?
Yes, not completely correct. Hosted email security is specific to Exchange. Cloud app security, like we had said, is going to do Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, Box, Dropbox, and those file sharing devices. There is another solution, worry-free services, that would be specific to endpoint security. And the reason why that's broken down is because worry-free services has the ability to do detailed behavior monitoring, heuristic scanning, spyware, grayware, malware scanning on the device itself. Trend Micro is a firm believer in layering your security. If it makes it to the endpoint, you're basically too late. That's like one of my counterparts like to say, if it makes it to the endpoint, you've already let the burglar in your home. We'd like to see, the layered. So you have your door with a lock on it, you have your fence, and that's where cloud app security, hosted email security, and then worry-free services come into play. Cloud app security is your fence perimeter around your property. Hosted email security is the door that you have locked, and then worry-free services is your security system that sets off alarms if somebody makes it into the house. So endpoint security is absolutely suggested to be coupled with hosted email security and worry-free or cloud app security as well.
Excellent. I think that's it on the questions. Folks, I'm going to do first and second call for additional questions for today's webinar. We got about 12 minutes left, so this is your time to ask the questions. While we're waiting, again, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. We just finished 9 cities this spring. We are deep in planning and securing the locations for the next 9 cities. I know Jonathan White will be involved in that process. I don't have the details in front of me, but I know we're having a conversation with him. We hope to launch late July in Fort Lauderdale, and then the industry has WPC coming up. Carl Palachuk has some online courses starting at the end of the month, and then shout out to next Thursday, noon Pacific, is a ransomware webinar. So you'll be getting notification of that. And then June 30th, we have another and another and another. So see if we have, here's Ken. Boy, I tell you, my throat's getting a little creaky here, sir. I don't know how I can catch a cold over the phone, Parker, but apparently
it's possible.
I'm grabbing one of my Hale's throat lozenges, so I'm going to read it and go on mute. Ken ask, can you talk a bit about how cloud app security is actually deployed and maintained on a customer's network?
So it is not it's not deployed or maintained on a customer network. It is completely a cloud-based management console. So if you were to purchase an annual license of Cloud App Security, you would receive an activation code. You would then register that activation code on a site called clp.trendmicro.com. Once the product is registered, you will gain access to the actual end-user console, where the first thing it's going to do is prompt you to enter in your Microsoft admin credentials. You'll enter in your Microsoft admin credentials for Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Box, Dropbox, or your admin credentials for Box, Dropbox, Google Drive. And once those admin credentials are set up, you will begin to have the ability to apply policies for DLP, general security, and protection against advanced persistent threats. I know I'm making it sound extremely simple, but the truth of the matter is it is that simple. We've got videos online for, if you go to trendmicro.com and search Cloud App Security, you'll be able to see these demonstration videos that will highlight exactly what I've just referenced, where they will log in to the management console through the web portal, clp.trendmicro.com, and within a few seconds they've entered the admin credentials and they have access to start supplying policies to the end users. Obviously, Active Directory integration and things along those lines are going to be a part of the setup so that we can recognize mailboxes and things along those lines, but that is all very automated as well. So the process of getting this implemented is extremely simple, and Ken, I wish I could say there was more to it, but it's absolutely one of the easiest products I have ever experienced implementation with.
Excellent. Folks, I think the deck is clear. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a win, Parker. If you're cool, I'm cool. Let's get these people back to work, man. The economy's doing better.
Sounds great to me. I appreciate all of your time today, and we're definitely looking forward to answering questions and starting to do business with everyone that's on this call.
That's right. And again, folks, we're going to be doing more with Trend Micro in the second half of the year. Stay tuned for details. Thank you, Parker. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you, Harry.